Its strategy document season for the administration of U.S. President Donald Trump. After issuing a national security strategy and a national defense strategy, the White House has released its long-awaited nuclear posture review. The document succeeds the 2010 review by the administration of Barack Obama and is an ambitious departure from the status quo in U.S. nuclear thinking. In addition to calling for 2 new nuclear capabilities, a sea-launched cruise missile and a lower-yield warhead for existing submarine-launched ballistic missiles, the review expands the conditions under which the United States would use nuclear weapons to encompass more non-nuclear attacks, including cyber attacks and attacks on nuclear command and control. As with all U.S. reviews of this kind, the document thinks mainly in terms of Russia, the only near-peer nuclear power for the United States. The other 2 nuclear weapon states in a competitive and adversarial relationship with the United States, China and North Korea, both have far fewer nuclear weapons than the U.S. But China has come a long way as a nuclear power, and the review notes that Beijing is modernizing and expanding its already considerable nuclear forces.
Good morning, everybody. I'm talking. I'm coughing and I'm choking on my sigh. You got a sigh Monday morning. Wish I had some good news this morning. I always try to mix it with a little bit of good news. Hopefully everybody's doing this good this morning. We do have a little good historical news, not modern news. Modern news is just jacked up, y'all. It's jacked up. They done released the NPR, the review that explains the use of nuclear weapons for America and what they want to do and how they want to blow up the world. They don't learn nothing from the past, so they keep going back, repeating the same damn past. So we're gonna get into a few things this morning. I got a famous brother next to me by the name of Vasili Arkhipov. Y'all say that with me slow. Vasili Arkhipov. He's a good Russian brother, man who saved the world. He saved you breathing today, right now. Breathe in. Taste the oxygen. Taste that oxygen. You know why you can breathe today? You know why that oxygen tastes so good? It's because Vasili saved your life. He saved your children's lives. He saved your mama's life, saved your daddy's life. He saved all your lives. The only reason humanity did not go extinct is because of this brother right here. Russian brother. Yes, Russia did it. This is the first time. This is the first time y'all are right. Russia did this one. But of course, it wasn't Russia as a government. It was Russia as the people, the 99%, because that's where Vasili had come from. So we're going to talk about Vasili a little bit today. We're going to talk about this nonsense about you can launch a nuke if somebody cyber attacks your country. You can launch a nuke if someone attacks a nuclear base, a facility, or a place that has some nukes with a grenade. Like this idea that you can launch a nuke anytime you want has got to go away. And so that's what's happening in the last few days. But anyway, let me see who we got this morning. We got Lola Mar, good morning, and Jennifer, Teresa, and Amy, and Diane, Brother Jimmy, and William, Augustine, Ish, Elaine, Nora, Georgia, Deborah. I apologize, Brother Michael. Oh, no, not to you, but Michael, not necessarily. And Deborah's in the house, and Nicole. I apologize to people who I can't see. They're playing games with my Facebook. They're playing games. All the numbers are wrong. I can't see the people coming in the room. A lot of people can't comment. A lot of people can't share. I don't know. I guess it's something about nuclear war that's written into social media policy that you're supposed to be for nuclear war. I don't get it. But that's how it goes. It's how the game is played. Not mad at anybody. Once again, I used to vote Democrats and Republicans, and they like all of this stuff, so they're cheering. Oh, we had the government shut down. We talked about the government. The government shutdown lasted about 5 hours. But thanks for Brother Rand Paul standing up trying to stop this nonsense and spending, but that's another whole discussion, but related to the whole spending on all these weapons and all this nonsense that we're doing. But anyway, so this is Brother Vasili Arkhipov. This is the good brother saved your life. He's the only reason that we as the human race still exist, as the 1% marches towards this mutually assured, ignorant destruction and going back to the last Cold War. So I'll kind of do a quick little history walkthrough in the time machine hanging out. Um, so what had happened was Russia discovered, going back to 1960s, 1962 is actually when he saved the world. But in 1960s, Russia discovered that America was encircling it. No different than how America's encircling it today. And found out that America had nuclear missiles in Turkey that could hit Russia within 15 minutes. Russia didn't like that because no country would like that. So what did Russia do? Russia decided they're going to put nuclear weapons in Cuba, which, by the way, is still a 40-minute travel to the United States. And so we had them beat by 15 minutes. But the United States didn't like that. Rightfully so, because this is what escalation does. But so what happened was Russia dispatched 4 nuclear submarines, which, by the way, America didn't know at the time that they had nuclear submarines. They had nuclear submarines which actually could destroy the entire U.S. fleet, launched from a torpedo, mind you. So they had this real top secret technology. America didn't know anything about it, which is usually how it goes. The other side doesn't know what the other side has, which is why you shouldn't be marching towards a direction of escalation and Cold Wars and arm races. These things aren't good things. They're not smart things. They're really highly stupid. So anyway, so the subs are all over there. And Vasili was the 3rd officer in charge of the nuclear weapons, right? So you've got the submarine captain, you've got the executive officer, and you had Vasili. In order to actually launch the nuclear weapon, you needed approval of all 3. They did a good movie about it. Sean Connery and Denzel Washington. I forgot the name of it. Crimson Tide. Crimson Tide, that's what it was. It kind of walked through kind of the how this went. Not completely, but kind of. So the U.S. saw the submarines. They were down beneath what is the thermocline layer, the thermal layer where you can hide a submarine. So they were down low, just hanging out low, just watching, make sure America didn't do nothing stupid while they were rolling out their missiles at Cuba, which was within their rights and made sense because stupid America rolled out missiles in Turkey. And so what happened was the U.S. found them, dispatched a destroyer and a aircraft carrier. They started dropping the what are the canisters they drop under the water, try to blow the submarine up? It's escaping me. The depth destroyers. Somebody will post the name of it. Trying to blow the submarine up. And so, of course, the captain thought they were under attack. The captain thought that they were in World War III. The captain wanted to launch the nuclear weapons. The executive officer agreed. Vasili said, no, we will not be launching because I will not be agreeing. Fights broke out on the ship. Everyone, because they couldn't contact Russia, they couldn't find out if we were actually at nuclear war or not. And so fist fights, crazy stuff. Vasili said no. But the whole point was all of this was that, depth charges. That's what it was, depth charges. I'm sorry, I got to drink a little more coffee. So what happened, how did we get here? We almost extincted the entire planet because the submarine was so deep and the air conditioner couldn't keep up. So the air conditioner failed. And that led to this whole nonsense of thinking that we were at World War III. They were under attack. They hadn't had no air conditioner. And they were getting indications that, from one of the sensors that America actually had launched a nuclear weapon. The nonsense behind all of this is ridiculous. And it's not the only time, right? We've come to the brink of war a couple times. This isn't the only time, but this was one time that was very well documented. This was the one time that kind of woke JFK up a little bit. And the world realized how 2 people and a broken air conditioner could start World War III because we keep marching in this ignorant direction. And so these are things that we have to look back in terms of thinking about today. And are we learning from our past? Are we going right back down the same historical path of walking into another arms race, of deploying nuclear weapons all over the world, but making it a bit worse this time, right? So there's mutually assured destruction, and then there's what we have today, which is not, it's a minimum mutual assured destruction, because what they're trying to do now is they're trying to make it so that we have the right to launch low-grade nuclear missiles pretty much at any time we like, that this is normal warfare to actually launch a nuke. And this is where you know, I'm gonna move off of Vasili. I appreciate the brother. I'm gonna move off of him. It's just I think if we go back to history and we look at where we came from, we can think about where we're supposed to go, because there are people who are debating. In fact, I posted there was a good debate on RT this morning, Crosstalk, talking about it. Well, I think that might have been from 2 days ago, but talking about the actual NPR that was released, that review that talked about this shift in when is acceptable to use nuclear weapons, because they actually mentioned Russia. They actually mentioned China. Yeah, they brought China. China was trying to stay out of it. China, you know, they're upgrading their missiles like we were, but they're trying to stay out of it, but we're pulling China in it. And so we're in this really, really dangerous spot where we're walking back down. But this is Vasili. This is a brother that saved the world from the 99% Russian brother, loved him. You need to thank him, talk about him, because he is one of the men who actually are why we are still here today. He is one of the 99% that have kept us afloat. Let me jump over here to the sub. All right, jump onto the sub. This is the, I got me a sub today. I got me a sub. You should get you a sub too, but not a nuclear sub. This is a nuclear sub. You don't want a nuclear sub. So this is what scares me. What scares me about this, and I'm not too scared. I'm scared, but I'm not that scared. You know, like I said before, if 99% of the people in the world actually got together, we could stand down to 1% from all of these dumb things that they love to do, because I don't think they're actually in control of what they're doing. But if the majority of people in the country I live in wants to continue down this path, they want to continue to put every election the same two groups who love nuclear weapons, who love war, who love robbing and stealing and killing, who hate God and everything God could have stood for, hate all the religious texts, hate all the love, all the stuff that all those texts talk about, not killing, murdering, destroying, 10 commandments, all of this nonsense. If they want to keep voting for these people, they want to keep putting these groups in power, then, you know, if extinction comes, then just bring it on. So I'm not really scared of it, but I want to talk about it because we're still here. We're still breathing oxygen, thanks to Vasili and a few others. This idea that we actually can launch a nuclear weapon because of a cyber attack is the most damn stupid, ridiculous thing that I've perhaps ever heard in my entire life. Like, I've had a cyber attack before. You ever lose a laptop or something because somebody put a virus on their malware? You done clicked on the wrong website, probably going to websites you're not supposed to be at. Reason to be mad, reason to be upset, something to consider and not be excited about. It is not a reason to kill millions of people. Like, step back from the politics of it, step back from the whole Cold War, pretending America's there to help. America's not there to help. Just step back from all of that for a little bit. Someone is actually saying, it's not even someone, it's what's the guy's name? Crazy dude, Mattis. He's actually saying that it's worth killing millions of people because of a cyber attack. This is where we get to a place where you start to realize why they call him Mad Dog Mattis. Because only a madman, only a psychopath, only someone who is crazy out of their damn skull would actually be willing to kill millions of people, most of which are children, because of a cyber attack. The very suggestion, and I know what some people are saying, they'll jump in and they'll defend them like they defended the people last 8 years, the last psychopaths that ran the world the last 8 years. They'll jump in and say, well, it's just posturing. You ever You ever have anybody posture to murder your children? Anybody ever come to you and it's just posturing? I don't know, they wanted a parking spot. You jumped in their parking spot. They jumped out the car with a gun, put it in your child's face and said, I'm going to kill your child. Is that posturing? You don't posture with murder. That's not posturing. That's called being ignorant. It's called escalation. It's called, and this idea that an arms race is okay is psychopathian. I know that's not a word, but it's psychopathian. We have to accept some of the truth. I believe in giving every administration a chance. I gave the last one a chance, trying real hard to give this one a chance. But every day, we're getting more and more information that the presidents do not run this country. That no matter what administration you put in, no matter who funds them, somebody else is funding them a hell of a lot more because they're all doing the same exact thing. And I get it, you know, I love my Trump voting friends to death, you know, but you gotta, and most of them I think already have, most of them actually already see it because they had no love for him. It was just, they couldn't stand Hillary. Hillary was like World War III day one. You know, she had the train and she was World War III day one. And they were trying to fight that. I get that. But now we have Hillary. We have, it doesn't matter, we are on the brinks of World War III. Outside of Israel, outside of Syria, outside of all of the crazy stuff that's going on, all the other countries that actually can pull us in, the issues with Pakistan and India, we are on the brink of World War III. We have, no matter who you voted for, we are on the brinks of World War III. What are we going to do about that? I'm a little emotional. I get a little emotional on this topic, so I wasn't reading the comments. I have to kind of check my comments out as I go. But now is not a time for identity. Now is not a time for tribalism. Now is not a time to get back at the other side because they said something about your mama, something stupid. They parked in your parking spot, stepped on your shoes, didn't like what they said during the election. Now is the time to grow the F up. It's getting real. It's getting real when we're at a place where we're saying that we can launch a nuclear attack. We can use low-grade nuclear weapons. Because if you watch the crosstalk discussion, it was a great discussion, you guys. You should watch it because they actually had multiple sides discussing it. And I forgot the gentleman made a very strong point. I'm going to look at some of your comments. He said, Russia has no interest in your low-yield nuclear weapon discussion. If you launch a nuke at Russia, Russia is not going to sit back and ask and wonder and debate whether or not it's a quarter was it a quarter yield nuclear weapon or a full yield one. They'd be stupid to do that. Russia is not stupid. Putin is not dumb. Mutually assured destruction is there for a reason, and it means one thing. If someone launches nukes at you, they will launch their nukes back. They've made it very clear in their policy. If you launch nukes at our allies, we will be not launching nukes back. Because this is how this works. If we actually launch a nuclear weapon, I don't know, at some forces in Syria, let's just say, Russia, if they actually pause, if they actually don't fire back, they lost. The game is over. It means that we called their bluff and they didn't react. It is a moral obligation of the Russian government to protect their people and their allies to make sure they keep that strong approach. Outside of being a bear, being their mascot, it is their requirement to launch a nuclear complement at the continental United States. That's what they are going to do. That is what they are supposed to do. Unless they're dumb as the day is long. That's the only thing that'll stop this from escalating. And it also, unfortunately, will be the end of the world. It'll be the end of the world. I'm going to say that because I'm not sure that some people not processing it. They're still in this silly political party land. America is lost. We have lost. We have lost our ever-loving way. We don't look at examples of history anymore. We don't look at examples of common sense anymore. We don't even look at what people, 70% of the country say they're conservative and they worship some Christian God that doesn't like you to murder one people. And we're going along with the murder of millions of people, perhaps an entire planet. And we do this every single administration. So I don't want anybody to get off and think that I'm coming down. I said the same things the last administration. I try to give them a chance. But you get to a point where you realize they're not actually in control of this. Some other forces, some other people, whatever it is walking us in this psychopath direction that it's okay to fire nuclear weapons where people live. All right, let me go back and see, because maybe I'm a little crazy. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's okay to shoot a nuclear weapon if somebody launches a Jeep attack on one of your bases. Maybe it is. I don't seem to think it is, but maybe I'm wrong. Hold on a second, you guys. No, I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to take it. People like to call you early in the morning. Trader instead of bomb, or trade instead of bombs. Thank you, Lola Mar. And that's really where we should be as educated, intellectual, sentient creatures. We should be talking about trading and fixing problems and preserving human life, not always in this perpetual discussion every daggone Monday morning about how we can get more bombs and murder more people. They just passed the, so the government didn't shut down, because one side wanted 100, was it 100 million, hundreds of millions for infrastructure projects, and the other wanted 100 million for something else, but they all agreed on hundreds of billions of dollars for the military industrial complex. So they're very serious about pushing this war direction. They are not pulling back. They are moving forward. So instead of actually doing anything for the human race, doing anything for the planet, thinking about sustainability, doing anything logical, doing anything that the supposed, and I hate it when people do the quote thing, but you gotta do the quote thing every now and then, that this "in God we trust," in Christian nation thing, which is all a lie. It's all a bunch of bunk, because if it just, and this just for my Christian friends for a moment, because I am also, if Christ were here, we would be the enemy. If he were here, he would be siding with any other nation against us. We are proving that we don't have respect for God. We don't have respect for the 10 Commandments. We don't love anything that we talk about. We go to church on Sunday and it's useless and it's purposeless because we're not getting anything from it. Now is the time to stand down our government. Now is the time. This arguing, this tribalism, this nonsense, unless you're one of, you're one of the people who just wants the world to fall apart. You got your bunker ready, you got your iodine pills, and you're ready for giving the kids the most horrible existence, dying slowly, after some sort of a nuclear fallout because one person does. All right, all right. I would have laughed. I personally, I don't think that's a good idea. I look at what happens in people who have to live with radiation sickness and vomiting every 10 minutes and diarrhea every 5. I don't think I want that for my kids. I don't think your kids want that either. All because we want to get some oil from the Middle East, all because we want some minerals from another country, all because we can't get past this idea of invading other nations and rolling out our debt solution, all because we want to get back at another political party. Are you that stupid? I love you to death. I do. And I had, I come from a generation where your grandmama, she said, listen, baby, I love you to death. But are you that dumb? Are you really that stupid? Are you really that lost that we're going to continue to flirt with the destruction of the planet because you want to get back at John at the Vendeteria because he voted for the other side? Like, this is not the NFL. This is not a football game. All right. I'm off in a little bit of a rant this all right. Posted a couple links. So Jimmy, we already have the 10 Commandments. We should be able to refuse service on religious ground, vaccines too. You know what? I guess y'all are having a discussion there. I didn't see what Brother Jimmy wrote. I don't know, Jimmy. I can't see what you write sometimes. I don't know. I think you hit enter too much. So I can read it later, but I can't read it when I'm live. So I'll look at that when we go back. Mattis has a hardened soul. He should be given he should be given no responsibility whatsoever. Ish, I'm in firm agreement with you. There's a point in time where you need to call it for a stand down in your government. This is a guy who needs to be fired. I'm sorry. If you even propose some idea like this, all right, say you're in the parking lot. Go back to the parking lot example. And you park in a spot, and the guy's at the grocery store, he's pushing the carts, putting them all together, and your car is in his way, and he takes out a gun, and he points a gun at you and says, you know, you need to move your car because I got to put the carts. If not, I'm going to murder you. That's not somebody that keeps their job. This is someone we know is mentally unstable, right? If you are threatening nuclear war against an adversary that does not use nuclear weapons, you are a psychopath. How many times do we have to get back and talk about these people in these positions who can end humanity all need to have brain scans? We need to know what the hell is wrong with their brains, because this is not normal. It's not normal behavior. I don't care who you voted for. I don't care what side you're on. I don't care how ignorant the other side got, because both sides got real ignorant in this election. This is not about an election. The election is gone. It's done. It's dealt with. We need to talk about the human race and moving forward. And the whole thing is destabilizing. The whole world, the whole planet is destabilizing because they want to sell weapons. They want to make money, but that's not how when these things get out of control, if you don't have a Vasili in spot to stop these things and stand them down, when they get to rolling, you can't stop them. This nation jumps in, that nation jumps in. We got Israel. Oh my gosh, what did Israel do today? Israel, they shot down a drone, and they attacked a base in Syria. They were shooting, oh, goodness gracious. And this is why the world is falling out of control. But once it goes too far, we can't pull it back. Here, look at this.
Syria's war escalated to a new level. For the first time in 30 years, Israel lost a fighter jet to enemy fire as Israel confirmed Syrian air defense shot at one of its F-16 fighter jets. The Israeli Prime Minister was blunt.
Israel holds Iran and its Syrian host responsible for today's aggression. We will continue to do whatever is necessary to protect our sovereignty and our security.
So Israel is holding Iran and Syria accountable for Israel's aggression. Yeah. I mean, we're at a place where our little rabid pit bull, which is what Israel is, a rabid pit bull, is biting the hell out of everybody who comes to our house, and they're ready to go. They're ready to fight. They're ready to kick this thing off. We are at a place where one little action can fire all of this off. And it's insane. You know, Israel alone has enough nuclear weapons to end the world without us. They don't need America behind them. They don't need anybody cheering them. They don't need the UK. They don't need anybody. They have enough nuclear weapons to end this world. And if America, and usually Israel is supposed to be the extreme one, but we're going to further extremes than they are with this Mattis dude. And it's insanity. World War III will be fought in a flash with monsters of technology. Yes, Jimmy, it will. And you know, the other thing about that, brother, is that when World War III happens, like I think we talked about a couple months ago, people think they're going to pull their smartphone up and they're going to watch the war on their smartphone. They think they're going to go turn on the TV at nighttime and see what's going on with the war and who's whatever happened. Like it's no big deal. When World War III starts, I'll tell you how you know. You'll know when World War III, if you aren't eviscerated or choking on radiation, when World War III starts, it's just going to go black. The lights will go out. The power will be shut down. And you won't know what's happening unless you got a CB radio, which you may not still know what's happening. World War III in the West, in the continental United States, you need to really think about what this looks like. What does it look like? The first thing that's going to happen is some sort of an EMP launch where they're going to shut the power off the United States. Why? Because they know that's how you attack America. You don't attack America with weapons. This war won't be fought in Syria. This war will not be fought in Russia. This war will be fought right here, because the first thing they're going to do is you got to shut down America's ability to make war. And how do you do that? You shut off the power, because they know within 60 days, the majority of the people in the United States will be dead with no power. That's what they're going to do. So if you think just for some sort of minute, just even for a moment, that this war isn't going to be fought on your children, you're crazy. You're not paying attention. Everyone knows America's weakness is their power grid. Everyone knows America's weakness are its people who are completely undefended for the most part. I mean, my gosh, you got the Pentagon broadcasting to the world. Oh, Hawaii doesn't have a nuclear defense. We can't stop missiles from coming into Hawaii. Now, mind you, that's a lie. It's a complete lie. But what does it mean is that they flip the switch off. They click, then it switch. Why? Because they want this war. They really don't care about you. I mean, you know what? I have a lot of friends that talk about depopulation, and they talk about how there are all these depopulation schemes. You know, one of the greatest depopulation scheme would just be allowing this stuff just to go rampant and go wild and let the power get shut off in the United States. You know, within a year, the statistics say that 90% of the United States population will be dead after a year of no power. That's how the war is going to be fought. No, you will not have lattes. No, you will not sit your fat butt in your Benz riding to work. You will not, when this happens, it's going to happen to you and your children, you know. And so I don't want to get too serious. I'm just, you have to really think about where this is all going. The whole world is taking this seriously, and it doesn't seem that we are. The problem is the U.S. is the #1 in cyber warfare. Augustine. The U.S. is the #1 in cyber warfare, probably in terms of expense, right? You know, because we know we have data centers full of hackers going away. But the thing is, so does Russia, so does Syria, so does North Korea, so does China. And being a developer, you know, coming back from my past, this is what I'll tell you. It's not about how many people you got. There is an investment. There is a productivity win from having more people. It's about having the right person. You can have 1,000 programmers in a data center, hackers learning how to hack into things in cyber warfare. But if you don't have that one guy or that one gal whose brain works the right way that can solve problems, you've lost. And if that one gal is Russian, if that one gal is Chinese, if that one gal is North Korean, we're in big trouble. You know, because all you need is one. It's one idea. And when you're talking cyber warfare to nuclear warfare, man, we're at the cusp of it. Zuckerberg now wants a balkanized Facebook and only give us local news. Yeah, you know what? But Ish, you know, I have to say again, I don't blame Zuckerberg and Facebook, right? We did this. We voted for these social media companies to not have any power. We voted for them to be attacked by this deep state, CIA, whatever you want to call it. We voted for censorship, right? It was very clear that both parties wanted censorship. And if we were voting Democrats and Republicans, we're voting for online censorship. So I don't blame Zuckerberg. I get the fact that he wants to make money. I understand Facebook. They're just a business. They're a company. They got to make money, and they don't want to be harassed and you know, by this deep state take money from them, or just giving them trouble. And so they pretty much, they'll push back as much as they can. But after a while, they'll capitulate. You know, remember when Google used to push back? Remember when Sprint used to push back? I think Yahoo even used to push back. But they can only push back this so far. And so why would they do this? Because they don't want people talking about nuclear war. They don't want them talking about the you know, nuclear proliferation. They always try to give you this idea that some presidents liked it and others didn't like it, and there's this struggle back and forth instead of they all do the same exact thing because they're not given an option to do anything other. Are you going to put the million of Russian descent into internment? Are you going to put the million of Russian descent in terms of internment camps? Of course they are, because this is what they do every war. As soon as when 9/11 happened, you know, remember that when 9/11 happened, all planes were grounded, and the only planes in the air were the Saudi kings and the princes. Oh, please. They were flying right out of the U.S. They went and got them, and our tax dollars paid and put them on the airplane, get them out of here. It's nice and cushy. Send them some food and give them a little Coca-Colas for the flight and whatever, and we sent them on home. But the rest of the people, the 99% from Saudi Arabia, oh no, they were watching them. That's when all that racism kicked up, and you know, they couldn't get on the airplanes, and they were throwing them off of airplanes. They were getting, and it'll be the same thing with our Russian brothers and sisters who live in our country. It'll be the same thing with perhaps anyone from Korea. We did it during World War II with the Japanese. We put them in intern camps. And so there's no question that racism and that tribalism and that nationalism, all that ignorant fighting between the 99%, those people who just don't get it, whose brains just aren't vibrating on the right levels, those people who aren't evolved enough to understand that all of this is a scheme, all of this is a rich man's trick to get us to fight each other. We can stand this down at any time we choose to, but this is nonsense, and we have to talk. It doesn't matter what Facebook wants you to talk about. It doesn't matter what Minds.com or any of these other wants you to talk about. You talk about what you want to talk about. You post what you want to post. You share what you want to share. You know why social media can get walked into censoring people? Because more people aren't talking about it. That's the only reason why. Most people are still talking about bunnies and kittens. Most people are still posting, and I'll post some funny stuff. I like funny stuff too. We all got to laugh. You can't really get bogged down in the craziness too far. But if more people are actually talking about life, human life, not murdering people, not launching nuclear weapons, if more people are talking about that, then Facebook, there's no way they're going to, okay, well, listen, deep state, we tried, you know, damn it. It's too late. They woke up. They woke up. They're not talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. They're not talking about the Super Bowl. They're not talking about, you know, hockey. They're actually talking about human rights, and they're talking about preventing World War III. We'd have to shut down our entire website to stop it. So this isn't, to me, this is not on Facebook. This is on us. We are embracing the ignorance. We voted for the ignorance. It is us who have to bring it back. It's always the 99%. It's like Vasili. He got on the sub and he said, you know what? This is on me. This isn't on my captain. It's not on the executive officer. It's not on the people in Russia. It's not on anybody else. It's on me to sit here and say, you know what? We may not be at World War III. America may not be attacking us. I don't think it's a good idea to shoot our nuclear weapons because we really don't know what's going on. It's on us. I don't think it's on anybody else. It's easy, I think, for us to sit back and kind of point at others and say it's the others, it's the corporations, it's the businesses, it's the 1%. They don't do anything that we don't allow. We are the 99%. We run this planet. They don't get away with anything unless we consent to it, and we need to stop consenting. What do we have directly out of Syria that confirms the severity of those attacks? I asked because I follow Syrian Arab Army, and that's a whole lot. And I have to click the thing and make it. Yeah, when the comments are short, I can get to them real quickly. When they're long, I asked because I follow Syrian Arab Army, and I don't see a correlation. Admittedly, I need to do a thorough check of sources. What I'm saying is that there may be motivation for one or both sides to misrepresent what's happening to the public. Yes, and there always is. Thank you, Patricia. There always is. We don't ever know what's happening in war. What we know is it's almost always a lie. You know, my basis is let's not do the things that get us to a place where we don't actually know what's going on, right? It's like in Yemen. There are multiple sides. In most wars, there are. There isn't always a definitive one side this and this side this, and there's a good and there's a bad. Usually, it's all bad, right? It's like with terrorism. You know, you can say, oh, well, the terrorists are, I saw this movie. We went to go see the movie. What is the name of the movie? It's about the train where the U.S. soldiers are on the train and the terrorist tries to take over the train and they stop the terrorist and he had like 300 bullets. This was in France. And he was going to kill everybody on the train and they stopped it. And only one person was shot and no one died. You know, we look at that situation and say, okay, yes, these soldiers were heroes. But we don't look at all sides of it, right? And we got to look at all sides and what precipitated, right? Instead of dealing with the mid-tier problem, what is the root cause of the problem? Why would this man get on a train with an AK-47 and 300 rounds of bullets to murder a bunch of people? He's crazy. He's a psychopath, right? But that's not the end of the story. The end of the story isn't putting a badge on, you know, the U.S. heroes, the people who saved all the innocent lives on that train. It's saying, why do these people hate us so much? It's not for our freedom. You know, terrorists don't hate us for our freedom. There's never like a good definitive size. After these things break out into massive wars, everyone's got a point for why they do what they do. You know, they hate us because we live cushy lives on keeping them in forced labor and slavery. We went to their countries and we just raped their countries. We took their minerals. We pushed their people into poverty. They watched their children starve to death. That invokes warrior genes. They turn into psychopaths and then they do crazy stuff. And so for me, it's, you know, in terms of Syria and these places are destabilized, but we have to be smart enough to not cheer people trying to destabilize them. And that's one of my greatest mainstays. You know, we have to stop these two parties right now. And it's the answer. I'm not saying the answer is a third party. I'm not saying that. The funding behind these parties, it's what's making them destabilize the world. Our kids will not have a future if we continue to do the same things that we're doing. We're going to keep going back to the same place we've been. That's what I'm kind of thinking. So I don't know the details about any war environments, and I don't think any of us, the only people who actually know what's going on for the most part are the people who are there. And the people who are there, they only know what's happening in their region. And so when you have around the world, like I think right now we have more journalists in prison than we've ever had, you know, because they go to these war-torn areas. So they're not going. So we don't get a lot of good information, short of a few friends here and there on social media who are posting things, because the journalists aren't going. There's no protection for them, right? There was a time, I think, when we did protect independent journalism, or even sending journalists to those nations. We're not doing that anymore. Not even the United Nations is doing that. They're scared to stand up to these monsters who are pushing us this way. Good morning, brother. You're not crazy. You're not crazy. Thank you, Jasmine. I appreciate that I'm not crazy. I think nuclear war is crazy. I think escalating something is crazy. I think trying to use violence to stop violence is crazy. And none of this makes any damn sense. And it boggles my mind that educated people who've seen what happened, people who lived through the 1960s, who understood that we came to the brink of this before, are actually not standing up and saying more. I'm just thinking that now is the time to share. Now is the time to go out and find these articles and start talking about how ignorant this idea is that we're going to continue to escalate. You know, I think now is the time to stop cheering and saying, I told you so, because Trump was going to, I told you because Obama did, and just say, you know what, they all do the same damn things because they're not in control. I think now is the time to grow the F up. That's what I'm thinking. And I know I'm off, and I do want to hit a little bit of the news, but, and so, all right, in the news, and so now you got Kim Jong Dumb Some Il. He's actually meeting with the South Korean president. They're going to have tea and crumpets. they're going to have tea and crumpets, y'all. And we got governments that are talking about using nuclear weapons for cyber attacks. Like, what happened to having adults in government? That hadn't happened in how many, 40 years? When was the last adult, you know, president or administration we've had? We haven't had one because we don't vote for one. So, and the other thing, what happened with the UK? What was in the news? The UK, hold on, I'm not gonna show you. The UK has a ministry. They just opened a ministry for, was it for depression? What was, hold on. For, goodness, I have to post it. Like, when you have governments around the world that are showing, the UK actually showed that there actually is a little bit of blood under their ice heart. They appointed a minister for loneliness. A minister for loneliness. You know, and I appreciate the fact that the UK is trying to do something for its citizens. I appreciate the fact, but, you know, you ever stop to think for a minute, well, why are your people so lonely? Why are your people so depressed? Why are antidepressants the #1 drug sold around the world? The poll showed something like 70% of the UK, let me go back. What did it say? 70% of when they did a poll, this ridiculous percentage of the UK is just like America. They're depressed. Why in the heck are people so depressed? Why in the heck? Maybe because we don't like war. Maybe because they want to live in peace. Maybe because human beings aren't supposed to work their entire life for corporations, sitting in chairs, doing something they hate, not doing anything rewarding. Maybe we're supposed to help each other. Maybe we evolved helping each other. Maybe that's when we feel good, when we do good things and we have rewarding things that we do. You know, but so they, a minister of loneliness, I can't even go there. But of course, in general, the world is run by warmongers. Yes, Patricia, it is. And, you know, and the world is run by warmongers because there are warmonger voters all over the planet, right? Our government represents us. If we don't force our governments to do non-warmongering things, then the world will be run by warmongers. I think the majority of our problems are in the mirror, and they always have been. And we have to stay in the mirror to solve those problems, but it's easy to point those fingers, the left and the right, and the Christians and the Muslims, and the blacks and the whites, and the Russians and the Syrians, and the Palestinians and the Israel. And meanwhile, 99% of the entire world who has a damn common sense head on its shoulders knows we shouldn't be doing any of this. They know that they shouldn't be siding with any of it, and they know that they shouldn't be voting for it. They know that. Why are you talking healthcare? Like, I'm sorry for a minute. What the hell are you? What is wrong with you? Why are you talking gun rights? What the hell is wrong with you? We may not have a world in 10 years. This just may be a radioactive dust cloud all over the planet, and y'all are talking about tiddlywinks like that. I don't, you know how parents love to say, I do anything for my children. Dude, here's one thing you can do. Here's one thing you can do for your children. Leave a planet for them. Is that an idea? Can we do that? Can we think about leaving a planet for the kids? How many Americans are Russian descent? I'm not sure, Jimmy. I think a hell of a lot more than what we know, right? So you think about, there was a time when World War II, when they put Japan, all the Japanese, and they put Chinese too, and Thai. They put a lot of people who looked Asian, they thought was Japanese, and they put them in internment camps. What are they going to do today? How many of you have Russian DNA in you, right? Because I don't think they're going to look at you and say, you look Russian, or you have a Russian name. No, we have advanced technology. We have gene studies. They can hook a probe up to you. I might have Russian in me. You can look like something completely different, and you have Russian DNA, and that might qualify. Anybody with more than 62% Russian DNA needs to report to an internment camp. Is this really where we want to go? This is crazy. It's insanity, and they have the police state to do it. Don't say, oh, that's not going to happen. I got my guns. You're not going to come take me. Please. They have the police state to do it. They know where you are. They know where you're going. They will make sure they have a complement of men with weapons to take you anywhere they need to take you, anytime they need to take you. There is no privacy. They can turn on your microphones anytime they want. All these cell phone devices, even if you don't have one, some of your friends do, your neighbors do, they know everything. They can do anything they want. Everything Hitler did. Contemplate this for a moment. Everything Hitler did in World War II is completely legal to do in the United States of America right now. And that is thanks to your Democrats and your Republicans. Consider that. The people in Israel could exercise their personal responsibility and relocate out of Israel. Instead of in the greater Israel, the rest of the world would have to refugee. Okay, I'll start with that issue. I can't see the whole comment, but yes. And so, but there are a lot of good brothers and sisters in Israel who agree with you. There are a lot of good brothers and sisters in Palestine who agree. They just want peace. They've lived together for thousands of years in peace. Yes, they've had their times of war when the 1% wants to do dumb things and get them fighting over dumb stuff. But they've lived together in peace. Look at Jerusalem. They all live together in peace. So we know we can. Look at America. Look at the UK. Look at Europe. We all can live together in peace when you don't have 1% sticking their finger in the Kool-Aid, stirring it up, getting dumb people to fight over something that they don't really have to. We live in a land of abundance. The earth is in abundance. People don't have to fight over these resources. All it is the 1%. They want more and more and more, and they want to hoard as much as possible. So they get the Israelis fighting the Palestinians, and meanwhile, the majority of them don't want to fight. But the ones who do want to fight, they put them on television, right? They put them there so people can see them, to get everybody all hooped up, hollering, excited, and mad at all of Israel, thinking all of Israel's like that, getting mad at all the Palestinians, thinking all the Palestinians like that, instead of just being an adult saying, you know what? Maybe it works over there the same way it does in my country, that they get the most extreme, retarded, foolish, dumb person that says the most extreme, ignorant thing and puts them on television because it's entertaining. And perhaps the majority of people over there, just like us, where they just want peace. They just want some food. They probably want a job. They want to live their life, and they want to have kids. You know, it's just ignorant to go to that extent. And so the idea that we actually live in a time where somebody who is in control of life on this planet would actually put forward a proposal that we can launch nuclear weapons for a freaking cyber attack. I didn't read the whole thing. I just read part of it, and it's just insanity. Like that immediately is a traitorous act. That is immediately not even just a traitor to the United States of America, not even a traitor to the Constitution. That is a traitor to the human race. That is a psychopath. This man needs to be with the straight jacket. How does it tie around the front of the back? I forget. I think it's tied like this. How does straight jacket go? I think listen, and it's not a hit on him. You know, I understand maybe his mama didn't hug him enough. Maybe he dropped him a few times on his head or something. You know, and I'm not making no jokes against him, but we know that what this is, it's the warrior gene. It's those psychopathic genes because we don't raise children to come up with love. And so we end up with these Mattises and we end up with these, I'm not going to say any of the names of the presidents because y'all start flipping out. But to me, like I've said before, if you can murder a child and go to sleep, whether it be by pen, knife, or gun, and sleep at night, you're a psychopath. And I don't want anything to do with you. All right, I'm gonna look at the comments. Somebody calling me now. You know who that's? Mattis right now. Mattis is calling me. He's about to tell me, you know what? Mattis wants to speak. Mattis wants to tell me, you know, he's sorry. He didn't mean it. He somebody then took his dog, put his dog in the basement somewhere, put a gun or bomb up to it, making him do this. I don't know. It's insanity to me. This war distraction, distortion keeps logic from working, will always be a step behind. This war, wait a minute. Oh, no, that is war. Distraction, distortion keeps logic from working, will always be a step behind. We always will be. We always will be because we fall into these distractions. You know, we're dancing and singing in the streets in Philly, drinking beer, throwing up, vomiting, eating popcorn, peeing on the corner, excited because the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl. And meanwhile, they can do anything else they want around the world because you got one. All right, I'm gonna stop with the Democrats and the Republicans. I'm not gonna go that far. So let me keep going. What else do we have? So outside of the UK and their minister of loneliness, you've got, oh boy, yeah. So Netanyahu, I don't even want to talk about that. And you also got, let's say, Iraqi fighting the Kurdish white flags, right? So in Iraq, oh, that's another thing. And so in Iraq, I mean, like, come on, it's like, this is ridiculous. So Iraq is looking for, I think they're looking for $100 billion to rebuild their country. And who would, I forgot the lady's name. She came out and said, let me see if I can find that. Kind of pisses me off a little bit. I'm not mad at nothing. It's ridiculous that we...
This is what so-called liberation from ISIL looks like to Hassan Ali and his family.
Y'all see, that's
It's
liberation.
been 6 months since Iraq's Prime Minister declared Nineveh province freed. Ali's house is still in ruins, so is much of Rabia town. He used to work as a farmer tilling the soil. Now he plows the rubble of his home and reaps what others have sown in his life.
I'll post the whole report, but the bottom line is they're looking for $100 billion to rebuild their country. And they talk about how people, the conditions haven't changed. It's still the same way it's been. When this particular reporter was over there reporting on it, you know, people still don't have water. They still don't have power. 10 years later, you know, ISIL done did it again. ISIL, which is just another department of the United States of America, funded on us by our tax dollars and our weapons. And here's our response to helping them rebuild.
Our policy posture has changed since previous administrations. Remember, we used to be in the whole nation building. The United States government is not doing that any longer.
So the United States is no longer in the nation building game. We are completely 100% in nation destruction. And we will not help you rebuild a damn thing. So y'all need to pay attention to this. Not that nation destruction and rebuilding is a good thing. Regime change, there's nothing good in it ever. But it's just like they don't even hide it from you anymore. They just put it in front of you like, listen, we're just going to vomit all over your world, going to kill a bunch of children, destroy, blow up everything because it makes us an awful lot of money. And after it's said and done, we're not going to do a damn thing to help you. Really? This is Christianity, y'all. I know I'm tough on the Christian, on the faith that I come from this morning, but really, this is a conservative thing. This is a conservative administration. This is what Jesus wants. What would Jesus do? Oh my gosh. I'm like, it's just insanity to me that anybody is even sitting down. Like, people should be talking about this type of stuff all day long. This is what should be going viral. Our government has run away. They're gone. The whole world is standing up against the psychopaths that run our government, that have always been running our government. And we're, I don't say anything about kitten pictures. I posted a kitten. Oh, it was so cute. Y'all should have saw it. It was a kitten picture. The UFO came over the kitten. He got pulled up. But the majority of my posts are just, they're human posts. They're posts for the voiceless. You got to laugh a little bit, because this whole thing is ridiculous. Why not put our Israeli money towards helping? Thank you, Elizabeth. Why not put all our money towards helping? Why not do all of it? Why does half of the new budget have to be for the military again? Why can't we do George Carlin? I'm always go back to George Carlin's favorite brother, Christianity. Great idea. When are you ever going to live it? When are you ever going to vote for it? When are you ever going to read the book? When are you ever going to pay any damn attention to any of it? Our money should be going to helping people. Our money should be for automation. Our money should be for human life, not human life taking and destruction. Just take the oil and call it liberation restitution. Thank you, Lolamar. That is exactly what they do. They take the oil, they get the pipelines in, they get some sellout to run the government there locally. Because even in this article, it was talking about how the majority of the money that they have is going for the oil pipelines. It's for the oil companies. And it's not even just America, because, China is in Iraq, too. China is there, and they got to deal with BP oil in the UK. So this isn't a thing that's, it's always America. America's always in the front of it, because they're just the most foolish, bought by the bankers and the oligarchs, whoever runs all of this crap. But all the nations are in on the game. They're all in on it. And so thank you, Jimmy. You reap what you sow. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. And America doesn't live by the sword like most of the West. We thrive by the sword. So what happens when you thrive by the sword? When everything is about the sword? Eventually the sword will find you. I don't want the sword to find us. So distraction, Obama, portrait, ugh. Verna said distraction, Obama, portrait, ugh. Verna, I think you're trying to tell me that Obama's back in the news. Like I said, I don't even want to hear it. They do this stuff to kind of get you to look the other way, and we need to focus. We have to focus on what's most important. To me, my feeds on Facebook and Twitter, YouTube is full of people saying exactly what we are saying here and what we're talking about here. And that's awesome, Deborah. The big problem though is, and they released the news about it a while back, that they were changing the algorithms to deprioritize news related content. So I think, like, I can look at my news feed, I'm like, man, we're waking up. People are figuring it out. And I can see people on the left and the right and all these different stop fighting, and they're actually talking intelligent things, and they're not off in emotional land. And it seems like people are waking up, but that's not the majority, I think. I think we have feeds, and people who think like us are attracted to us, but probably the vast majority are still locked in whatever is on the mainstream. I think to some degree, we almost have to completely destroy the mainstream news. We die by the 1% sword. Yes, we do. Thank you, Renee. And that really is what it comes down to. It's not, it's not a 99% thing. I mean, we control everything, but we allow this. We are okay with this. We don't push back against this. And so this is all we get. We get this 1% sword, and it's going to come back and it's going to bite the hell out of all of our children, our grandchildren, and perhaps us. Attacking unity seems to be the goal of AI. Mark, I think you're right with that. It does seem that AI is deployed to take down moderate voices, and unfortunately, that's what's happening. because they want to keep people extreme and keep people divided so they can keep marching forward. And I actually think, though, that a lot of the people in these deep state organizations, I think they're probably good people. I think that they think that they're doing the right thing. I think that they see this goal down the future that, you know, you got to break a few eggs to make an, you know, break a few eggs to make an omelet type of approach. But the reality is the rest of the world's not standing for that. They're not. We can't watch every single border all the time, everywhere, and every cyber attack interface. Eventually, something is going to get through. Something bad is going to happen, and a lot of people are going to die. And this war is going to get started. And we have to know better than that. We have to break apart the environment that allows these wars to happen, because when the war happens, you can't pull it back. It's all gone. At the time of Deepwater Horizon, biggest shareholding of BP was State Street Bank, formerly known as Union Bank, controlled by Prescott Bush financing Nittler. Lolomar and you know, but it's always this. It is always the same thing. And it's what Marcus said before, is that they're always a couple steps ahead of us. They always have all of this nonsense planned out. It's always, you know, and they kind of just push us down this maze like a mouse, because they plan all this stuff out ahead. The world events unfold, and we knee-jerk reactions send us in this direction. And my thought is stand down. It's like when 9/11 happened. My 2 cents on that is we screwed up. We should have been angry to the minute Bush said, go shopping. The minute after 9/11, he said, don't let them break down our freedom, whatever, go shopping. We should have stopped and said, wait a minute, what the hell is he talking about? Why would he say something like that? And maybe we should have realized at that point what 9/11 actually was. It was a knee-jerk reaction from poor people in the other countries against the hate that we deploy and the death and destruction in their countries, as well as Saudi Arabia trying to pull more of our military forces and use our military as their security in the Middle East. Maybe we should have thought about that for a minute. We have to stop doing knee-jerk reactions and, like we said, stop deploying violence as a solution. Violence just begets more violence. And we know this. Food prices alone are enough to freak everyone. Well, you know, I don't know if food prices in America are going up. I know they will be. I know they're going up around the world. I know they're going up in any of these countries where we have these big trade agreements, like with NAFTA and stuff. We're raising food prices and we're starving people out because, you know, Americans, they need cheap lattes, and people in the West, they need nice cars, and they need to be able to keep up their ignorant lifestyles and go shopping as a hobby. And we have to get past that. We have to be smarter than that. People are overwhelmed by trying to survive. Yes, Elizabeth, they are. And I think that's the intent. I think survival is what they want. We know when people are in that survival mode, it kicks in the emotions and those warrior genes. They tribal up and they stop thinking about children. They stop thinking about humanity, and they just start thinking about themselves. And this is the same thing that they're doing, like we were talking about last week with the kids in the who were doing the mock terrorist beheading or whatever they were doing, you know, that went viral on the news. They know that they're putting people in survival mode, and people in survival mode will side with their government. They'll side with really foul things to keep their lifestyle and their status quo, or to keep it from getting worse. Let me see. 9/11 was done by Bush. Thank you, Patty. And that I think was pretty well documented in the documentary, Everything is a Rich Man's Trick, or Everything is a Rich Man's Lie. I watched that. I flipped out, which is why I say you find the people who did 9/11, who killed Martin Luther King, who killed JFK. You'll find the people who actually run this world and who are actually doing this. You'll find the people behind, 5 million people have been murdered since 9/11 and all the nonsense that's happened from that. All right. Thank you, Jasmine. Where's the love? I think the love is always there. I think the love has not gone anywhere. I think that it's still in all of us. Too many of us don't tap into it. Too many of us are using our brain and not our heart. Limited functioning brain. Too many of us aren't looking at the big picture. We're looking at the little picture. We're looking at the little picture in our own little local community, our own little local race, or we're looking at the picture, our own little nationalism, national approach. We're not looking at the big picture where, see, the 1%, they play the long game. They play the big game. They play the big picture. They don't operate on these little local levels. They do things to destabilize you, get you pissed off and get you arguing on those levels, but they play the big game. And that's the time for people to shut down their tribalism, look at the bigger picture, let go all of this arrogance of being okay with the world being destabilized. When somebody says something dumb, like it's okay to use nuclear weapons of any yield at any time, ever, and you know Russia doesn't play that. They can't play that. They're not allowed to play that. They will cease to exist if they actually blink and we shot a low-yield nuclear weapon. We need to pull back. We need to bring, what did Clinton like to say? We need to, we have a government that's a super predator, and we need to bring them to a heel. And the only way to do that is to drop all the arrogance with the identity hate and identity love and just say, this is a bad idea. You as a government do not represent us. You're going to have to go. There was one last thing, and I'll drop it. I thought it was interesting. I didn't spend a lot of time on it, but Sri Lanka actually are somehow voting out their government. No, it's not voting. You know, it crossed my eye, and I'm just sitting here thinking, you know, they, where is it? Sri Lanka actually somehow are saying their government, the mandate is Sri Lanka opposition calls for government resignation. I love this. I don't know how true it is, but I love it. The idea.
The joint opposition is back in the limelight. The Sri Lanka People's Front, which contested the local government elections, won the largest share of the vote. Known locally as the SLPP, the party says the ruling government has lost its mandate.
The result is unequivocal. This is a very emphatic, a very clear rejection of the Sirisena Wickremesinghe government. We therefore assert in the clearest possible terms that this government does not have a mandate to continue governing this country.
The SLP.
This government does not have a mandate to continue governing this country. And that is my stance. I don't think that our government any longer, and I'm going to show you one other thing before I go. They no longer have a mandate to govern this country. This government no longer works for the people, by the people, or even represent the people. So why in the world are we actually at a place where we're allowing this government to continue? And maybe it's really a legal question, but the deal and the contract I was given when I was born in this country is that I would have a government that's representative of its people, and the government completely isn't. I want to show you something real quick. There it is right there. See the message underneath that? Let me make it a little bigger. I was going to show you this the other day. They do it for RT, Russia Today News, and now they're doing it for Al Jazeera. It says Al Jazeera is funded in whole or in part by the Qatari government. If you look at Russia Today News, it'll say Russia Today is in part or entirely funded by the Russian government. And that is a phenomenally wonderful statement. Why is that a wonderful statement? Because it means that in order to get the truth, you need to look probably at a source that comes from someone who is against what your government's doing, right? So if you want to know the truth, the opposition, you know, and they may put a little sugar on it sometimes, they may put a little salt on it, but the reality is if someone on the extreme left says something, you go to someone on the extreme right to get the opposite truth, right? You get the opposite side of the story, and somewhere in the middle lies the truth. So the only news at this point that we should be watching, because we already get the American news in America, and if you're in the UK, you get the UK news. If you're, you know, if you're in Palestine, you're getting the Palestinian news. You need to watch news that's sponsored by the exact opposite, the people who do not stand for what your leaders are going for. So to me, this is a badge of honor. That is a badge of this news network will give you the other side of the story. Because it's in the other side of the story, I think, that humanity actually gets to exist. It's the only thing that gives you enough data, the full picture, to actually make an intelligent, educated decision that you can put forward. Anyway, listen, this is Gerard. I appreciate you guys joining in this morning. We didn't laugh a lot this morning. Sometimes you can't laugh. It's kind of hard to laugh with nuclear weapons behind you. The only thing I ask is this is what I asked, and I'm gonna go. If we're gonna do this whole nuclear thing, please do it right on top of me. I don't want to feel nothing. I just want to be eviscerated. But this whole living in a time of fallout, I'm not interested in that, and that's not for my kids. Unfortunately, that's probably not how it's going to go. You guys, it's not too late. We can pull this back at any time we want. We still run the world. We just have to be smart enough and empowered and not be fearful enough of our neighbor to stop letting things go in this direction. Anyway, this is Gerard. You guys have a great day. Love y'all to death. Bye-bye.